But I find it very shocking that a lot of Americans, of course, don't know this. They think that Romania is. Do you speak Russian in Romania? No, we don't speak Russian. Why would we speak Russian? Do you speak Spanish in America? Like, shut up. Like, it's the level of ignorance is massive. But you're saying they do it on purpose.
Yeah, no, the education system is intentionally excised, edited, cut down, and omits things 100% on purpose. In fact, Charlotte Iserbyt, who was the head of education under Reagan, she was put in that office. She's the one that noticed back at that time that they had done all of this reorganization of education for socialist type of purposes. In her book, Deliberate Dumbing Down, she actually demonstrates this with like intentional documentation. And then there's another book that documents this all the way back to John Dewey and the founders of like American public socialist education, that the purpose of it was to socialize and to not teach you how to learn, but to teach you to be socialized. Okay, so William James, I think William James is part of it. There's these Unitarian dudes, I always forget their name, but they're the fathers of American public education. There's a book that Rushdie wrote on it that's really good called The Messianic Character of American Education. I highly recommend that book if you want to read on this topic. But it's just pointing out that it was intentionally modeled after the Prussian socialist system to compartmentalize things, to break down education so that you don't make higher level connections. They don't want you to make a connection between what happens in biology and what you're studying over here in logic. Because if it did, then you would notice that, actually there's a logic to biology. And that would mean that we're not purely programmed robots.
Yeah, and you can see this in every part of American society. I mean, if I ever go to the United States, when I go to the United States, I'm always in somewhere like LA, New York, the kind of place. I don't enjoy it, I'll be perfectly honest, and I'm speaking as an American. But every time I meet a girl and she's like, oh yeah, I went to college, I went to university, I just know. I know the things that come out of her mouth are going to be intolerable in terms of her worldview and what she thinks is right and wrong. And the American education system is really screwed up because it does program people. And I've seen it. I mean, when my cousin, God bless him, when he first came over here from the United States, he was 19 when he first came to visit me. And it took us a few weeks to deprogram him. He thought so many things about the world that were so fundamentally false through no fault of his own. But now he's 23 now. He's got his mind back in the right place because he's hanging out with us in a sane part of the world where where society is still intact. And it's people like you and your family and loads of people. I mean, people like one of my favorite journalists, Jack Posobiec. I don't know if you know him. He's a Catholic, Polish ancestry, but he lives in the United States. When I watch people like him speak and tweet and talk, I'm like, these people are who's holding society together. None of the people who I used to identify with are holding society together. All they're happy to watch it burn, and it's tragic. So I mean, as an American, thanks for staying in the States and obviously fighting the good fight, because I'm not moving back.
Yeah, well, I've looked at the possibility of expatriating and considered that because things. I mean, it's almost like we're having a Bolshevik Revolution set loose right now. I just tweeted out. The Duran did a good video yesterday covering what's happening in America as a kind of repeated Bolshevik Revolution. They were literally comparing all of the striking similarities between the way that the Bolsheviks were like making up these crazy stories about the Tsar being in a secret league with Germany and that they were going to destroy Russia from within. It was all made up. It was all fake. And it's like, that's exactly the same Russiagate hoax about the Trump secretly works with Russia and he's destroying America for Putin. Well, literally the people saying that are the ones that have like the protesters out there like burning down entire cities. It's just
destroying America.
It's ludicrous.
Literally destroying America. And in America, I've tried my best to have rational discussions with Americans about what's going on. I mean, I don't know if you can see about me or not. I'm my skin's darker than yours. My father was black. He was black. He was African American. So half of my family are black Americans. The other half are white Europeans. And I like to think I have a very non-biased view on this. And every single time there's an incident, obviously police kill people indiscriminately in the United States. And the police, they are, a lot of them are too trigger happy. They need better training. I agree with a lot of it. But every time I look at a situation, I call everything case by case, and I write it out on my Facebook. So, sure, don't lean on a man's neck for 8 minutes and 30 seconds. What the fuck are you doing? You're an idiot. But the guy who ran to his car very recently reached into his car. Like, there are videos of people doing that and then blowing the cops away. And you should know that if you go reach into your car, the cop's going to open fire. And I called it. I said, you know what? That guy, you know, he was disobeying the police. He reached into his car. No one knows what he was reaching for. So I've said this, and I get accusations from family members of myself calling me a racist. I'm like, well, if a mixed race, half black man living in Europe can't look at a situation and objectively make a call and say this is wrong or this is right and that's right and this is wrong, because the cops aren't always right. The criminal's not always right. If you find yourself falling on one side of the argument 100% of the time, you need to think about your own mindset and your own critical thinking. And this is what I try to explain to people, but I'm getting called a racist by, like, literally my dad's cousins. And it blows my mind. In America, there is no fighting this mindset where, you know, if a man like me, and my dad was one of the best black chess masters of all time. I'm very proud of my African-American heritage. I can't say that the police made a correct call without being called a racist. So God help the rest of you.
It's like I keep thinking to Batman Dark Knight, you know, with Bane and how
now Bane was.
if you hold a cup up, my buddy told me this.
If you hold a cup up, you can do a perfect Bane impersonation.
If you think of Bane's revolution, it's worse than what was the problem in the existing regime, right? So he thinks that he's going to let loose this sort of anarcho-communist style revolution, and it ends up being far worse than the problems in the existing order. That's exactly what's happening now. It's like the utopian Bolshevik type of idea. It just doesn't work, and it makes things way worse because you can't force humans to operate perfectly according to ideals. That's even the impetus for technocracy. All of this, we're going to get brain chips and all this nonsense. It's all predicated on the idea that man's problem is because he possesses free will, because he has agency. If we can just stamp that out and turn everybody into program robots or a version of program robots, then everything will be fine. Then we can fix the problems in the world. And it's all utopian based on unrealistic ideals. And every time, it's what's amazing to me is, like, every time these ideals try to be stamped into history, it leads to chaos, carnage, bloodshed, collapse, and people can't remember this. Right now, there's high level elites, I believe, that know that, and they want the collapse for consolidation purposes, to buy things up, or whatever. But the lower level people, like, how can you actually believe that any of this is ever going to work?
Well, the beautiful thing about some of these countries, and do not take this as an advertisement for coming to live in Romania. Romania is it's not a very, let's call it, it's not hostile to outsiders, but coming to move here is very difficult.